an important Hollywood producer. This script is terrible. I wish there was someone who could help.
I think the first time I heard the term script doctor was back in 2016. After Carrie Fisher passed away, everyone was talking about how she was a famous script doctor within the industry. Script doctors, I learned, according to various articles, were brought onto films in production to rewrite key parts of a struggling script. Carrie Fisher was known for being particularly good at dialogue. Other well-known script doctors include Aaron Sorkin, who worked on Schindler's List, Quentin Tarantino, who did some doctoring in the mid-90s, and Joss Whedon, who worked on Waterworld, Twister, and X-Men. Movies like The Godfather, Bonnie and Clyde, and Gone with the Wind also had the help of script doctors. I pretty much started my research just by Googling script doctor and exploring the various hits, then doing further research based on everything that seemed interesting or that I just didn't understand. In doing so, I learned that script doctor is a fairly unofficial term that could mean a couple different things. I also learned a lot about how scripts get written, critiqued, and rewritten on their way to hopefully becoming a film. Ideally, if a studio wants to change a script, producers or development executives will write notes about what they want to see changed and give those notes to the original writer or team of writers. However, writers are sometimes unavailable by the time higher-ups want a particular edit. Others may be difficult to work with or reluctant to change their script, leading the studio to drop them. Sometimes it does seem like studios drop writers pretty arbitrarily. Other times, writers may come and go when other people involved in development and production leave or get hired. According to the WGA, a writer must write 33% of an adaptation, or 50% of an original film to get credit as a writer. According to the Writers Guild of America, a writer must write 33% of an adaptation, or 50% of an original film to get credit as a writer. Sometimes writers who write less might get credited as script consultants or creative consultants, though the WGA discourages that. When new writers on a project get called script doctors, it usually means they're already well known for their work, they're brought on because of connections to executives, they work uncredited, and they're joining the team late in the game. Because of their well-established reputation, they also tend to get paid a lot of money. The thing about that use of the word script doctor is that it's not a real job title, and it's not even something everyone in the industry uses. Most people will know what you're talking about when you say script doctor, but I was surprised to come across a fair number of screenwriters who think that anyone who uses it unironically sounds amateurish and uninformed. Personally, I think that's a little harsh, but they make a good point. It's normal for projects to have multiple writers on board, and script doctors are really just more writers. The other kind of script doctors are freelancers who will critique your script for you. Other people offering similar services may call themselves script readers, script consultants, or script analysts. Most such freelancers offer either script notes or script coverage. While researching freelancers, I encountered a fair amount of debate about the efficacy of the work they do. Most of these freelancers claim to have some kind of insider knowledge when it comes to the industry, and argue that their opinion will be totally honest and thorough, unlike the kind of critique you might get from friends. However, some screenwriters argue that if these people were any good, they would have full-time jobs in the industry already, and writers shouldn't feel like they have to pay for whatever advice they offer.
I'm not totally sold on the legitimacy of a lot of these script doctors and consultants. Some of them seem pretty serious and have like really cool writing credits. Others are sort of like, oh, I read the first draft of the sequel to The Never-Ending Story in 1989, so maybe they're still good editors, but the whole I know the industry thing might be like a little bit of an exaggeration, or a lot.
At the same time, I don't think lack of wild success in the industry indicates a lack of talent or ability to edit scripts. But I would prefer to work with someone personally who is at least open and honest about what their qualifications and experience is.
The only way that you can really become a script doctor in like the Carrie Fisher sense is to be a really good, successful screenwriter and be good friends with directors and producers who will want to bring you on to the movies they're working on.
So while I definitely wanted to talk some about that kind of script doctoring, I thought including other meanings of script doctor and other ways that scripts get edited in development would be a lot more relevant and helpful for writers just trying to get started. Script doctors, freelancers, development professionals, and writers all use similar language and formatting when it comes to things like script notes and script coverage. And the basic goal, making someone else's script a stronger and more marketable story, is the same. For my artifact, I considered finding a script for a movie that's already been made, and just doing some doctoring myself. But like I said, being a script doctor in that kind of sense is pretty hard. And if you are brought on to rewrite a script, you probably still will have to submit script notes about what you think should be changed first. Thus, I figured doing studio-style script coverage and making a website as a freelance editor could be more relevant to the kinds of things we might do or encounter as writers who are just starting out.
So for part of my artifact, I've decided to do sample script coverage. Script coverage in studios in Hollywood, it's what script readers prepare for producers and directors to tell them the basics of a submitted script and whether or not the directors and producers should even consider developing it.
I considered finding a script from an online writers forum to write coverage on, but I know I wouldn't be very comfortable with a stranger using my script for a class I wasn't in, even if they asked me for my permission, so I figured I'd try something else first. Fortunately, Sienna offered to let me read an older feature-length script of hers.
And it turns out that we're all well on our way to being decent script readers, because it's basically the same thing that we do in class every week, writing a critique letter, but a little bit longer, more intense, and more strictly formatted. So I have emailed 2 professionals. One is a script editor who's actually from Britain, but I asked her questions that I hope were sort of universal to the writing process. And the other is a script reader and producer. Both of them agreed to answer questions, and I sent them questions. They have not answered those questions, but maybe that's a good sign. They're just taking their time.
Also, it is April 16th, the day before the project is due, and I have not heard back about any of my interview questions, so I guess that's not really going to happen. But reaching out to people in the industry, I think, was still a good exercise for me. So I think the most difficult part of the project to figure out for me was the video, mostly because most of my process looked like this.
I really wanted to come up with like some clever story or like fun gimmick or something, but I guess I'm just gonna talk to myself with a camera here.
Money was often an obstacle to exploring things as in-depth as I could have.
I have $2.
Getting help from a reader or doctor could have been really cool, but they don't work for free, and I don't blame them. Even making my own website was harder to do for free. I ended up using WordPress, but when you're using it for free, your options for editing and individualizing the design are pretty limited. I'm still satisfied with what I was able to do for class, but it is clear that some approaches to starting your career can really be an investment. I enjoyed researching this topic. I definitely learned a lot of things about being a writer in the industry. The sample coverage in particular was helpful for me because it really made me break down my analysis of a script, and because script reading for a studio, as thankless a job as it's reputed to be, could be a good way to get started in the industry.